It's good to see all of you again. So usually when I do these talks, if you've ever seen me talk before, I get up here and I have a whole bunch of like really nicely polished slides, and I make a few jabs at Rails, and like everybody laughs and we have a good time and it's super fun. This is not going to be one of those times. I have something that I've become kind of really passionate about trying to explain to people in kind of the React world. And I wanted to take a stab at doing some live demonstrations and kind of showing you the way that I think about styling components in React. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with kind of some of the more advanced types of things that people are working on with kind of putting CSS and JavaScript and all that. I don't really care about that. I just want to talk about how to compose the styles that you already have better using components. There's a lot of gains to be had from this, and the biggest thing is that it kind of separates you from the lower level details and kind of allows you to have like a nicer authoring experience and improve maintainability. So let's dive into it. So who here has used or heard of Twitter Bootstrap? Most of you, which I would expect, because it's like one of the most popular libraries on GitHub. It's got like, I don't know, 40-some thousand stars or more. And it's because like CSS is hard, and they actually included a lot of the best practices, baked a lot of those into it. One of those is kind of separating these kind of base styles from modifying styles. So we're going to talk a lot about, if we can get the video that, or my screen on the big screen, that'd be great. Otherwise, everyone's going to be like, what's happening? Awesome, perfect. So everyone can see that? Okay, so one of the cool things that they did was they basically separated out all of these classes. So now you have these really nice composable classes because you can say put button on everything, and that's going to give you all of your structure and kind of like the base elements of style for a button. But then also they have like a button default and a button primary and a button success. And what these do is they give you those little extra kind of differentiating styles. And so you use both of those classes on every single button you have. So in HTML, that looks like this. You got to put all this stuff on every single button. And basically the one thing that I'm going to tell you not to do is this if you're using React. Because now you can define your own components, and you can just say like, hey, I want a primary button component, and I want that to have all this nonsense below it. So without having to like rewrite your styles or anything, you can gain a really nice like authoring experience. So let's talk about how to do that. So I have this exact line of code here, but Reactified. So instead of class, I'm using class name, etc. So that is rendering this big button that says touch me. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is just extract a primary button, right? And so we'll take like the easiest approach. Also, you're going to be amazed at how bad my typing is. So like, it's okay, you can laugh, you can cry. It's going to be okay. Just don't get stressed out. If you see an error, let me know, because it's probably wrong. I'm not like playing a trick on you. All right, so the first thing, we're going to take that out. See, there we go, already off to a great start. And we're going to name this new component primary button. We're not going to take any props now. It's just going to be this function that renders this out. And then in React, we can call our component primary button here. And nothing changed, so that's a good thing, right? So who notices a problem with this right away? Like, what have we done that's bad? That's right, yes. Oh, just the fact that I said touch me is bad? No, I'm just kidding. Right, so we've totally like hard-coded this into our primary button. So every button in our app is going to say touch me. So that's not a good thing. Or maybe it is. Depends on what kind of app you're making. It should never give me a microphone. This is so terrible. So what we're gonna do is we're going to say like, okay, like obviously that's a crappy button. We need something else. So we're gonna take props. So every component kind of takes props as its first argument. And we're gonna use this special syntax that basically just means anything that comes in as props or pros, prop JKS, anything that comes in as props, we want to send that directly down to our components. So basically, I don't care however many attributes you send me, if it's inside text, if it's like a data attribute or whatever, an ID, just put it all on there. I don't care. So here we'll say, touch me again, because now we don't got nothing. Boom. Okay, so everything works again. Is everyone tracking so far? Doing pretty good? Okay, cool. So that's pretty good. We did a good job. Now we have a primary button that works as we would expect other places. Like we can use this all over our app. We can like change the text. It's super awesome. But like in most applications, it's not just primary buttons everywhere. Likely you're gonna have you're gonna need to delete something, right? And so I think that's like danger button is usually the API for that. Okay, so we don't have a danger button, so my app is broken. Let's just be lazy again and just duplicate this. So we get that, and then change this to danger. Boom, now we have a danger button. Our danger button is so awesome and red. And we can change this text, obviously. If I can find it, say, don't touch me. Don't touch the red buttons. All right, so we have two components. Who's kind of noticing a trend of duplication here, though? We have these two components, and they're almost exactly the same except for this class. We've duplicated the tag. We've duplicated this type button, which is important in some browsers if you don't want to accidentally submit forms. And we've also duplicated this base button class. So like that's not super good. So maybe we can do a little bit better and by extracting another component, like another shared component. And we'll call this just button. This will be like our basic button. And this is gonna have all the shared attributes. So we're gonna take this specific button danger off. And then these, we're going to render our new button component. So these aren't rendering out a button, directly rendering out a button, but they're rendering the button component, which means that now I can delete this type attribute. So I'm gonna do the same thing for this, delete type, and nothing changed. So that's a good thing. So I guess we could inspect this if we wanted to and make sure that that type attribute is getting applied, which it is. So this is awesome. Now, let's try to go further. And since we're applying our like basic button class here, let's see if we can take that off here. Nope. I broke it. So does anyone have an idea of what's happening here? Why I've inadvertently broken this? It seems like if I apply on my primary button, if I just use the primary button class, and then on my basic button, I use the basic button class, like it should all work, right? Does anyone have a hint or like an idea why this is broken? Why I'm not getting my base button styles? No? No clue? All right. So it has to do with the way that I'm kind of spreading out all of my props across the component. So here, after I said, like, apply this class name, well, I'm saying apply any other class names that are given to me. I'm not actually merging those together. So if I put this ahead of that, then only that basic button class is going to be applied. So I need a way to merge the class that the button has, the basic one, and then also the specific one that my danger and primary button classes have, or components have. So we're going to do some fancy trickery. This is called Destructuring. It's super awesome, and if you are into React, and Babel and all great things. You should learn it. So what we're doing is we're taking that first argument, so that's represented by this object here, and we're popping off the class name. So we're saying like, I want the class name, pull that off of the props object, and then everything else store back in this local props variable. So this line will still work because we still have a variable called props. And then here we can do some fanciness. We'll actually wait. So we use JSX, take an array, and then we'll, as the second value in the array, we'll use class names. We'll join those together by a space. And fingers crossed, even though my editor is pissed, this should work. Okay, group share time. What am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? There we go. Wow, this green. This green is so bad. What's happening? Okay, so we just use like basic JavaScript to get all of those classes joined together. Now, there's a library for this to make it a little bit nicer, so we'll import class names. Give us a little better syntax for all this kind of stuff.
Change just don't to do not.
Yeah, I'm going to delete those these guys in a second. I'll get better. Class names button, class name. Boom. Crushing it. Look. Oh no. Oh. Emacs is like the worst at indenting JSX, let me tell you. If you know how to make it better. I guess just leave it crappy for everybody. All right, so we have like a pretty good thing going on. We have a danger, a primary, and a base button, and they're kind of like all working in tandem to like give me exactly what I want every time reliably. Now we could make this a little bit better because I have these components that are still aware of the CSS, the underlying style. And really, I'd like to distance myself as far as I can from that. I'd really like to isolate all of the style concerns and all the knowledge about the classes into one place, so that if ever anything were to change, if we were to use a different style library, that all that happens just in one place. So we can do that. Let's kind of change this. We want to depend on our own API. So instead of saying danger, kind of applying the class directly, I'm going to say, give this a danger attribute and this a primary attribute. Those will come through in props. Oops. Man, gotta hit escape. All right, so now both of our buttons look basic again. So this is problematic. How are we gonna solve this? So these are props coming in our props object. We can peel those off again, the same way we did with class names. We're gonna pull off primary and danger. And in this kind of class name function, we're going to say like, let's see, if there's primary, if that's not undefined, then we're going to say button primary. And then if there's a danger undefined, if danger is defined, we'll do danger. Boom. Look at that. Same thing that we had 5 minutes ago. Awesome. Just more typing. Love it. So now this is cool because now our danger button and our primary button, they're not at all aware of our CSS. They don't have to know anything about CSS. Like, so you can like, work on these things. You can use primary and like danger button and not have to know anything about CSS. And that's like just super blissful. The world rejoiced because only the people that care about this nonsense have to deal with it. And they have one place. They rejoice too because they only have one place that they have to deal with it too. They don't have to chase it down across the entire app when they decide that like Bootstrap's not cool anymore and they want to use Foundation, which is the worst. Please don't use Foundation. Oh my gosh. I don't know what they were thinking. Sorry, Foundation folks. I'm sure you're very nice. So, okay, so we're depending on our own API. This is awesome. Yeah, so this is really great. Everything's like nicely isolated. I'm in love with this. This is the way that I like to work. I can do primary buttons, danger buttons. I don't have to think about CSS. That's beautiful. So now there's if you want to do all of Bootstrap, so you can do you can wrap almost all of Bootstrap in this way, and it's awesome. And I'll show you later that I've done it, and it's like totally cool. Now, the problem is, if you're going to go home and you're going to do this, you're going to say, like, I like what he's talking about. I'm going to start doing that. Well, you're going to need to know one more thing, and that's kind of how to make these like dynamic tags. Because right now, we're saying like all buttons are buttons. Like, that's it. But not all buttons are buttons. Like, you might use these button styles on an anchor. You might use them on an input. Like, who knows? So we need to be able to make that a little bit more dynamic. So we got to change a few things up in this component. Right now, this is basically just a function, so we can kind of get away with not having to put curly braces around it. But I need to do like a little bit of, I need to assign another variable, so I'm going to have to put curly braces around it, as ugly as they are, and return it. Like, this whole thing just gets uglier just because. So we're going to create a variable. We're going to call this tag. So this is going to be the tag of our component. It's very important that this is capitalized tag. It won't work if you just use tag. I can tell you why later if you want. And we'll say, like, if, actually, I'm going to come right back to that. Okay. So let's say, what are some of the things that make a button different from an anchor tag? We'll just handle anchor tags right now. And the big thing in my mind is whether or not it has an href attribute. So I'm going to like do a little pitch here, and this is a place where I'm kind of talking about some of more of these ideas. So I want this button to link to that page. Well, if I click on this, it's not going to do anything, even though the href is applied, because, well, it's a button, so it doesn't know how to do all that kind of stuff. So I need to figure out how to make this button be an a tag if there's an href on it. So let's do that here. We'll say const tag equals, and we'll do like a little ternary here. So if href is defined on props, we're going to say, let's make this an a tag. Otherwise, it's going to be a button. Right here, we just do tag. And then moment of truth. Oh, boom. That's so awesome. Dynamically changing little things, and like, it's just, React is super cool. Okay, so anyway, so that's pretty much it. Like, if you know these things, you can do like a crap ton of cool stuff, and you can isolate the crap out of your CSS and never have to look at it again. You'll be super happy for the rest of your life, basically, until you retire. Which are you guys saving for retirement, guys and gals? Like, it's an important thing. So here's everything's good. Everything works. I've told you everything that I want to talk about. The wins here are that we haven't actually changed the way that we write CSS. CSS is still written the same way, and the people who love it can keep doing it. But we've isolated it, and we've created an API that we can use for buttons that makes it very maintainable and very changeable across our app. We only have one place that's concerned with CSS. Those underlying, really annoying CSS details below. So I have, just right now on this page, I'm going to detail all this stuff, but if you want to read more, I have a blog post on kind of style components and talking about why they're awesome. And also, I have a JS bin that you're going to have to set the processor. This is such a dumb thing about JS bins. So set that to ES6, and then you'll be able to see kind of my example of how I set up basically all of these little components to extend all the Bootstrap classes. So yeah, that's it. Basically, instead of using that long string of HTML, just start writing components. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Whoa. Questions? No questions? Good? Happy? Sad? Yeah.
So what would you, obviously you're doing a kind of basic example here, but like, keep it in the mic.
Can you hear him? Is he loud enough?
I'm pretty loud.
Well, just be loud.
All right. So what do you do with your example here if you want a danger outline button and a primary outline button?
Right.
You don't want to just duplicate that. You want to make outline a basic thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. I think someone on someone on Twitter that I really am annoyed by was like, oh yeah, if you do this, you're gonna have like a Cartesian explosion of components. And it was like, I was like super annoyed. And so I like blocked him. And then I was like, oh, I shouldn't have blocked him because like obviously it's a Cambrian explosion and not a Cartesian explosion. And I wanted to like unblock him and then correct him, but like I just kind of felt weird about like doing that. So hopefully that answers your question. No. Yeah, so basically I would continue to put all of that in the basic button. Or in this button component. So I would have all of those be options. So you could do something like, so I have a primary button, but that actually kind of obeys the like Liskov substitution principle or whatever, which basically says that I should be able to do this instead of primary button, right? So if I go back to my example, so that still works. So I can still use this basic button, and then I could just do like outline here or something. And that's not going to do anything because I'm not taking outline as a prop, but I could. And then basically the idea is that you don't have to expose all of your components, right? So at the call site where I need it, I could make another component, which is like my button, like for exactly this purpose. And then have that go here. And then I don't have to like export that. That doesn't have to be like a globally available button. I can just use that on my component where I need it, or just call it directly at that point and just chain all the props on. I think, is that cool? Cool. Anything else? Yes.
I'm a little confused about the import CN from class names.
Oh yeah,
What's going on there?
yeah, sure. So that could be anything really. So I mean, I could call this class names, and then here that would still work. Basically, when I import this, I can change the name to whatever I want. So it's basically what it's doing is it's assigning a local variable for class names.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not really importing anything.
So I have a Node project set up, so I'm importing it from Node.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're importing.
Yeah, I am. Yes. Yes. How many times can I say yes? Let's find out. All right. Is that it? Oh, yeah.
Are you going to show your example?
Which example?
You said you built something else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. This one. So if you go to stylecomponents.com, there's just a JS bin, and it has, again, set this processor to ES6 Babel, and it just shows like I built up the whole button API. So this component basically composes all of the possible options for Bootstrap. So yeah, and then just kind of shows you examples of different ways that you might kind of set the attributes up, and like, maybe what is it, like, maybe I want like an anchor button and it has like the A tag. Maybe I want that to be my component, and then I can kind of use the other attributes kind of in tandem with that, or like a large button, and like I can say that it's also primary and things like that. So yeah, so that's a really good example if you want to kind of just like toy around with it and kind of see the options. There's really no wrong way to do it. I just kind of got to explore and kind of see what works for you. Cool. Well, thanks everybody. You've been awesome. Thank you for supporting my terrible typing here. And yeah, hearts.